Hi everybody, my name is Fritz from Freedom for Fido. This is my buddy Tim. He is our doghouse extraordinaire. He's built some marvelous doghouses. As a matter of fact, we'll take a break right here. Here's one of the doghouses he built. Okay, we're back. So you can see this guy knows how to build some doghouses, and today he's going to show everybody how to build an insulated doghouse. We've got a standard plan that we're building, diagramming it out, every step that we're taking. We'll have this on our website. If you look down below me, there's the name of the website. Click there. You can get a PDF version of the plan for free, and we'd love it if you'd consider building a doghouse for Freedom for Fido. So with that, here we go with step one.
So now we're starting to lay out our base, which is made of pressure-treated 2x4s. We're going to allow 32-inch width for the doghouse area, a 2-inch interior wall for the pet door, and a 70-inch, or a total 70-inch porch.
Okay, so now you can see we've got the first base pieces cut, and Tim is measuring 32 inches to go across the interior right here, and he'll be cutting those next.
So as you can see, we're putting in our laterals now, and I usually split the difference here with two 2x4s so that the flooring for the doghouse portion can rest on one and the deck on the other.
So now you can see we basically got the floor put together. It's laid out. We haven't screwed it together yet, but you're going to have the porch here, extra laterals on each side with the two in the middle that Tim just mentioned, and we're going to go ahead and put those together. To put the base together, we're using these 3-inch star head screws. They work really well, and just a basic impact drill. Okay, one important step you want to do before you start thinking about plywood or anything else is make sure this thing is square. So what we do is we measure the diagonals, and you'll see in this case we're just under 78 inches. And if we go to the other diagonal,
We're just over.
you'll see we're slightly over 78. So the way Tim straightens that out is he puts a little screw in here just to hold it down. That's just temporary. And then he basically just squares it up. And then we remeasure until we're square. So make sure you do that step before you proceed any further. Okay, so now we've got our frame screwed together, and what Tim's doing is putting on this extra footer piece that we do as an L shape. And what that allows you to do is build the wall up on the outside here. So you'll notice we go 2 inches longer on the outside edge to allow the overlap to go down the vertical wall or the... Okay, to get the 2 1/8 that we just showed you on the wall plate, basically all we do is take a 2x4, measure it out, and then obviously just run it down the table saw, and you end up with your 2 1/8 piece that we're using for the L at the bottom. So that's how you get to the 2 1/8. Okay, so as we start to build the walls, what we're going to do first is frame it out with 2x2s. So Tim has cut these down to 74 and a quarter. And this one here, how long was this one, Tim? The vertical was 33. And this will be the footer when we build the wall. This will be on the bottom. This will be on the top. So the wall will come up as we build it. Now, one minor detail, if you look real close, you can see this has a slight bevel to it. And what we did is we just ran that through a 6-degree angle, which matches the difference between the front and the back of the house, 36 going down to 30 inches. So you do have to bevel the top board a bit just so that everything sits square on it as you're building your walls. Okay, so now you can see we've got the front wall temporarily in place, and we're starting to work on the side wall. And what we've done is we've put this temporary brace here to hold it, just so we can get everything squared up. And if you notice, we've got that 6-degree angle that we talked about. We've got to cut the top of the side wall beams to that same 6-degree slope. So you can see with the level, that's going to be the roof line that it lays flat. The other thing I'll notice is we've got two 2x4s. The reason for that is when we take this to the site to assemble it, these walls will actually come apart and they'll detach for weight. So we make everything where it's detachable from the frame, and then we can reassemble it at the site. So that's how we do the sidewall, and we'll show it to you here in its completed construction. So now we've finished both of the sidewalls. One little trick I wanted to show you that Tim does, he actually uses what we're going to use for the interior wall, which is OSB, and he uses that as spacers when he's laying all this out so that you make sure that the walls sit in the right place. It helps when you're measuring. Also uses these corner brackets to hold everything up and keep things square, and it really makes it a lot easier as you're pulling it all together. So those are a couple tips. So now we're just laying out the back wall. Tim's just cutting all the studs to fit up along the wall as we build it, and we'll show you the finished back wall next. So Tim's putting in the final header on the back wall. One thing you'll notice on the back wall, it's an exact replica of the front. This is where the dog will go on and off the porch. This is the doghouse area. The difference is we're making this opening here for an access panel in order to be able to clean out the inside of the doghouse. Okay, so now we've got all the walls together. You can see the back wall's attached, front wall, and what Tim's done now is he's gone ahead and done the interior wall. If you remember, there's a porch and the doghouse side, so this will be the door, the wall in between. And this opening right here is important. This is where the dog door will go. So Tim has used the measurements from the dog door company, and whatever dog door you end up buying, we ended up buying these ones here. I'll show a picture of it. But use whatever you'd like to insulate the dog door. And Tim, why don't you just talk briefly about building the side?
So this opening for the dog door that we used is 11.5 inches wide and 17 inches high. The bottom will be about 5 inches off of the deck. So you come up about 5 inches, somewhere in that neighborhood, 4.5 to 5 inches. We have a 3-degree angle here. This is a 3-degree angle coming down. So that's important. And now we'll skin it and insulate.
So as we're doing this inner wall, you'll notice one overlaps. So you want to leave a little bit of a gap when you measure to account for the width of the OSB on the wall that you're attaching up to. Okay, so now that we've got the interior walls all lined, what we're starting to do is insulation. We're doing the back wall first, and we're just using this bad insulation since we've got a lot of small spaces. For the rest of the walls, we'll probably use foam sheet. But I just want to show you, basically we're just putting the insulation in and then tacking on the exterior OSB. Okay, so we're trying different products, and I think we've settled on this one. It's called Craft Eco Roll. I'll show you a picture of it here. But we're going to use that for the insulation. It's a little bit cheaper than the foam stuff. We did buy some of the foam panels. You can see them against the back wall there. But this looks like it's probably going to be the best option. Okay, so now you see we've moved from the interior walls. We're just putting the flooring in. One thing I'll notice here, or point out, is we're only doing the OSB on the interior of the doghouse. Out here, if you remember, is going to be the porch. And on the porch, we're going to do finished decking. So we leave that undone for the time being. Okay, so we just finished insulating the wall that divides the doghouse from the porch, and as part of that we just installed the dog door, so that's a good time to do it. And we've just got that held in place with a couple of screws, as you can see, to keep it in place. Okay, now we're doing the side panel, and one point on this is we actually have a 1-inch overhang. If you watch Tim lay this board down here, we don't go flush to the side of the 2x2. We leave a 2-inch overhang on each side. And the reason for that is so when you're hooking it to the house, it comes up to the outside edge of this OSB. So you have to measure out enough to cover the edge of this so that your corner will be square. Okay, so now we're working on the roof, and for the roof we're using a full 48-inch wide OSB. Obviously the house isn't that wide, and that'll allow us to have a 4-inch overhang on each side, front and back. Obviously we're also going to do the same side to side, so we cut it to 83 inches long, and now all we're doing is putting in these 2x2, I guess you call them a ledger, I don't know what you call that, a frame that we're building underneath the roof that we'll show you when it gets attached to the house. Okay, as you can see, we've got the roof just sitting on top right now. One little trick you want to do, you want to mount these little blocks underneath here, and you actually want to screw those to the roof so that when we take the roof off, they stay with the roof, since we do keep this as a detachable roof to help assist with the weight. Okay, so now we're going to start working on the decking on the porch side, and you want to cut these 32 3/4, and it's just basic decking, treated decking material. Okay, one thing as you're putting in this decking, you'll notice we're leaving a gap here. Again, these walls will separate from the doghouse, and if we screwed the deck piece across here, they would be connected, obviously. So what Tim does is he cuts a custom piece before we take it out for the install that we know is going to fit in here, but we actually don't attach it until we get to the build. So you're all familiar with the coronavirus. Well, it happened to hit in the middle of our doghouse build. So I'm home quarantined. Tim is at his place with his shop. He's going to finish up the doghouse, and I'll rejoin you at the back end. So you see here a completed roof, and we used a roll-on roofing. You could certainly use shingles or anything else, but basically it's just the wood that we had already built. We put a drip edge on it, and then we put a mastic, which is a tar, underneath the shingles, and then shingles over the top, so it's pretty straightforward. One step as you're doing the finishing is you want to put this piece of trim here, the roof. We're actually going to have a ceiling inside the doghouse that'll be insulated, so you need to have this for the ceiling to sit on top of. Okay, so what we're basically doing is installing the ceiling. Again, we wait until the build to do that, but Tim's cut this piece to fit. And then we'll put the insulation over the top of that before we put the roof on. Here's the foundation going, or the insulation going in. So this is the big day. We're here at the install site for the recipient. My wife came out with us, and you can see all the panels are separate. We're going to put them all together for you today, so this is exciting. So basically now we're just screwing all the sections together. You can see Tim's putting a little bit of insulation between the panels for the insulated part that'll be on the inside. And also here you'll see that we're going to put the ceiling on after we do the install to insulate the living quarters versus the deck on the outside. And we're basically just putting these panels together and then screwing them along the bottom so they're all screwed into the foundation. Okay, so what we're basically doing is installing the ceiling. Again, we wait until the build to do that, but Tim's cut this piece to fit. And then we'll put the insulation over the top of that before we put the roof on. Here's the foundation going, or the insulation going in. A quick look at the trim work around the access door. You can see he put weather stripping here to keep it tight, and he's using these 1x4s that he cut down to 1x2s for all the trim all the way around the house. They're all the same, just 1x4s that he split in half on his table saw. But you want to try to get as much weather stripping as you can to seal any of the access points. Okay, the other thing we do is install a chain here during the final install so that when we lift the access door, we can hook it up out of the way. You can also see the hardware that Tim did on the door. I don't think we showed that earlier. A couple of barrel bolts, hinges at the top. Offers nice big access into the interior part of the home. Okay, and the final step at the install is to put the corner pieces on. Basically just that same 1x4 that's been split down to 1x2s on all four corners. And we are done with the doghouse. One. Okay, so now we've gotten both of the 3, 2, 1. Oh, you stay in there, Tim. Nah. Okay, now we've got the interior walls done. We're starting to do the insulation. We're doing the back wall first, and you'll notice we're just using the I don't know, what do you call this kind of insulation? Huh? Packed?
Bat.